Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. I'm Ted, hanging out with some of the colleagues today.
Ryan.
Nate.
And today we're going to talk about making a magic spell and modifying magic spells. So, in the DMG 283, there's a small section on creating a spell, and most of it talks about the spell damage and keeping it in line with the average damage per level of the spell.
Yeah.
And it really wants to let you know that wizards and sorcerers shouldn't get access to healing because it steps on the cleric.
Because F you.
It steps on the cleric's domain, whatever.
All over that life domain.
We did another video and we were talking about, this monster is immune to fire, so you could technically have a modified spell that you create or learn that instead of casting Fireball, cast Acid Ball.
Well, back in 3rd edition, there was a feat, energy substitution, or energy admixture. Basically, it would let you substitute out energy spells on your on your damage types. And also, too, in Pathfinder, there was a subclass of Evoker for Wizard, Invoker, that you could actually, a number of times for your intelligence modifier, swap out your damage types there. So this is something that has existed before.
Right. Yeah. Substitution was you literally changed Fireball to Acid Ball. Admixture was, I think, you added 2 levels to the spell and it did both damage types at the same damage. Damage.
It would be like down the middle split or whatever.
Now, my recommendation, if you want to take existing spells and alter what damage they do, I don't think I'd do a 1-to-1 transfer. I'd probably do some kind of augmentation, either less dice or like a lower die.
Well, so
simply because there's a real big advantage to being able to, say, have a sorcerer that has all ice spells, even though there's only like 3 ice spells in the whole stinking book.
Well, so here's the thing. This kind of started as a Twitter discussion with me and one of the guys that follows us on Twitter, guys and gals. But in this case, it was a guy. John Appleton, I believe his Twitter handle is at JAA0109. So, it's probably triple zero was taken or whatever, 007. But yeah, he was basically asking about the concept of could I just make a spell be a cold fireball as opposed to a fireball. And, especially for, say, a sorcerer, it makes sense because it goes off a bloodline. Like, if you're saying that, my character, sorcerer, actually has the blood of frost giants or whatever, it kind of makes sense that all of your spells are cold-based.
Yeah.
And if you're not changing them willy-nilly, like, if you don't have the option of changing it back to the conventional fireball, then it's like, all right, well, I'm against cold creatures.
Oh,
this
yeah.
is gonna suck.
If you select fireball and it's really ice ball or frost ball or whatever you want to call it, then that does make sense. You're restricting yourself in a different manner.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying because it's a whole other beast to restrict somebody on the fly. To say that they can make it whatever energy type they want and then you give them a moment. No, that's problematic.
Yeah,
because
I would never allow a player to say I've got this generic spell and I can insert whatever element when I cast it without having something else that allows you to do that.
Yeah, like a class feature,
a class feature or a feat. And I even think that even that is kind of too powerful in 5th edition, because if you know what you're up against, you can put its weakness right at the forefront with any or all of your spells that fit into that box.
I could see maybe a high cost version of say using sorcerer points, either
like a meta magic.
Yeah, a meta magic use of sorcery points, but it may be even higher cost than anything that's on the menu right now. So I'd have to look at that and figure out what
to be able to change it on the fly.
To change the element, because that's a huge ability.
For a wizard who finds a spell and he's only going to be able to prepare so many, or to have a sorcerer say, look, I'm about to gain I'm about to gain 5th level access to my 3rd level spells. I'm a bronze dragonborn. I really want access to this element. I think it was bronze does lightning or something. Was it acid? One of the two. Can I take Acid Ball or Lightning Ball instead of Fireball? what do you think? Well, in that situation, you're changing the element type, the rest of the spell forever for that character. And if he wants to get rid of that and change of a different spell when he levels up and get the regular fireball or a different third level spell, that's completely within the build of the character. But it becomes set at that point in time. So if you have those things...
like a story reason of why it should be, basically.
Right. And your example was perfect. You can make those type of things, and I'm all about that type of stuff. Modifying the stuff that's in this book is great. You get a long list of spells, but sometimes it just isn't enough. I've made characters who are firecasters, and once you get beyond 5th level spells, it's like, I can't find anything.
Plus, but also too is being that like one directional is being a firecaster, you start to be really boned once you go against all the things that are in the fire.
But if you've got an idea for a character build, and that's totally a flaw in the build, I have no problem with that. It's like, hey, this thing's immune to fire. Well, smack. What am I going to do?
Yeah. And speaking of that, good.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of that concept of, hey, there's no more fire spells and I want another one, you could always make one.
Yeah.
And I haven't played enough, 5th edition, and I haven't played enough Wizards over the last few years to really feel, confident about saying, well, what kind of ideas do I have? Mm-hmm. And then, in kind of conjunction to the next part of this video, player in my game has said, I want to make a spell. So I'm like, well, looks like I need to figure some of this stuff out.
I better learn a thing or two about this.
If you guys are following, my game, Shard Gale Raven, he's a human wizard. He has decided that over the course of his time, he wants to begin working on this spell. And oh man, the concept he came up with is a doozy.
Yeah. Sword Tears, which is a really good name.
It's a good name. The concept is all non-magical swords in his sight, when he casts this spell, turn to water. Permanent effect, gone. And I'm like, the dude's 5th level. What is this man thinking? So
that sounds like a 4th or 5th level spell.
That's way higher than that.
Yeah.
It's at that level. I could add some restrictions and make it be like a 6th or 7th. With everything within sight, that's
in sight. You gotta just do a radius 30 feet, 60 feet.
I would say if you pull that down to a range of 30 or 60 feet, you make it be any drawn weapons.
Give them a saving throw, of course.
Conditions. That's a major thing. Like it's pretty unrestricted. What he was asking for was like, hey, every sword I see.
I don't think permanently. I think after the duration, it should be concentration. After the duration, they revert back. Like the water recongeals. Make it a transmutation spell. The water congeals back in the blade.
Like a concentration. Transmutation spell.
Yeah.
Well, I was looking for trying to. I did an article on this for Nerdarchy.com, and I went into how to kind of look at the spells and you say, well, that spell, what does it have in common? Well, there's low-level spells like Shatter. If you have an unoccupied or non-worn item, Shatter does damage to it.
Right.
So that's a good start to say, all right, well, damaging is almost destroying.
Right.
But that's unoccupied. If you do enough. That's an unoccupied weapon. Well, then I'm like, all right, well, but it also does damage in a radius, so you got a radius effect, and you're doing it to people as well as things. So then there's also heat metal, which does the mechanical thing of damage, and you have to pass a save or you drop it.
Right.
And it's still affected by the heat metal.
Oh, heat metal? Best thing to do that is do it to somebody else's armor, because they can't take that shit off quickly. But yeah, continue.
So with heat metal, you have the effect of that person doesn't have their weapon for the combat as long as it's hot, or as long as they don't feel like taking a whole bunch of damage every round to pick that thing up. So that's kind of another 2nd level spell that only disables one person's fighting ability with their one weapon.
Right.
So another thing that affects disabling, because I'm thinking about combat effectiveness of the spell as well. You have Stinging Cloud, which is a radius effect that you make a saving throw, or you're pretty much useless for that round. You get a saving throw every round, but you're still just useless each one of those rounds. So it has that kind of, again, area effect that disables people or reduces their combat effectiveness. So thinking, well, none of those are permanent destruction of an object. So that's kind of where I see you have to back off a little bit and say, well, I don't know if it can be a second level spell because we're talking about
Cloud is second level.
Yeah, those are all second. I just listed all second level spells there. And I mean, the only thing higher level, disintegrate. You can just disintegrate a non-magic sword. Boom, it's gone. It can't take that damage.
Right.
So a non-magic sword or object, disintegrate. Well, so disintegrate's a 6th level spell, and I think he wants to dial it back a little bit and actually be able to cast it sometime soon.
So, you really pull your 12th level intellect in on this one. So you said you did the article. Sadly, I haven't had a chance to read it yet.
I broke it down, so I mean, we're not going to just go down the list of all the things. So if you want to get more detail, just check out that article.
Absolutely, read it. So what did we get to? What did you list as your final spell?
Outcome of it?
Okay, so the final outcome, I also talked about encouraging players and encouraging player creativity and why, while even though you said this can't be a spell that he can cast right now based on what he wanted, we tried to figure out a way that it could be a spell that he could cast right now or very soon. It's kind of like encouraging player initiative and creativity while not shutting him down, because he's not going to bring another spell. I made it 3rd.
All right.
For right now, because playtesting wise, because I want to see how powerful it is to just be able to break a non-magic weapon forever.
Okay.
I don't think it's super powerful, but if you want to cast it, it's the idea is if you want to cast it every round, then it's too good.
What area effect did you give it?
I just gave it single target.
A single target.
And they can make a saving throw against it. And I was thinking either wisdom or intelligence because it's sight based. So it's a drawn weapon that you have to see. So is there a way that if they understand something's going on, can they get the sword away or drop it, or kind of like that intelligence save?
Okay.
But a straight on wisdom, willpower versus willpower kind of thing, you could do a wisdom based save. So I left it up to kind of whatever you wanted to do.
I think a willpower definitely works for this.
Yeah.
one.
So
you could also say con, because the physical, if you're attacking the physical structure of something. Constitution. If you go transmutation, well, so an unoccupied item, it would be maybe the item gets a baseline con, but I could even see this if it's a concentration spell, because concentration really mucks with what you're able to do in a given round.
Oh yeah, concentration really affects.
So I could
heat,
say
metal, and sting cloud are both concentration.
It could be a 2nd level spell if you're targeting one dude and it's a concentration thing.
Or you could
if it reverted, absolutely, it could be 2nd level.
Yeah, so I would actually, I'm more akin to Ryan's little addition of having it be concentration and they revert at the end back to metal, so it's a temporary transmutation, and you could have it be all within a cone or a sphere that's within 30 feet.
Oh yeah, if you want to bump it down, make a concentration, you could absolutely do a radius effect
I'd like to
for a save.
Radius would be 3rd. That would go.
I want to keep it at 3rd.
Keep it at 3rd. Give it a radius effect.
Yeah, put it at a 3rd level spell slot, so it's something he actually does have the ability to use.
Maybe do it like a burning hands radius, like that same arc.
So 15-foot cone.
Yeah, 15-foot cone.
So what do you think?
15-foot cone's not really going to get many people.
2 or 3. If you can take 2 or 3 dudes out of a combat with one spell.
If they have non-magic weapons.
Same thing. But there's so many spells that are kind of useless against anything that's actually magical anyway.
So what would you say about having is a 15-foot radius too big? Is a 10-foot radius too small? What do we want to do, like a 4x4 block? What
you could give it the Thunderwave range, and that's if everybody was lined up how you ideally want them to be. That's 9 people.
Okay.
Ideally,
I like the idea of dropping a radius. You can drop a radius like a fireball somewhere.
What do you think about a 10-foot radius?
Why don't we just play test it out? Do 10 feet.
All
if
right.
10 feet doesn't seem that spectacular because it's only getting 1 or 2 people.
So
I would do a round by round saving throw, because most of the spells, especially enchantment, they get an illusion too.
Well,
Every round they get a save.
I think in this situation it'll have the opportunity to for them to try and get to the caster and stop his concentration
with their non-weapon.
Well, if they have a backup weapon or they just straight up punch them,
it's breaking so many spells that like. There's so many round by round spells that have a save to give this not have.
That would follow the methodology of Stinging Cloud and Heat Metal if they got a round by round save.
Yeah, because otherwise it gets pretty imba. Yeah.
Well, the big issue is you got a great weapon fighter, and he gets hit with a spell. Well, what other third level spell makes him absolutely like out of the fight? Pretty much
he would have rather have taken a fireball and failed the saving throw.
Like hit me with a fireball, I will swallow a fireball and it explodes. Like in my mouth. Boom.
Well, I mean,
rather than have their sword disappear.
This is why we have playtests.
Yeah. So I mean that's why. I think a round by round, if you made it third, if you made it an area and you made it round by round save, that's enough. I feel like enough conditions that it's not going to be wanted to play it he's not going to cast that instead of fireball every round.
It transmutes to water, so if he eventually passes his save, if he's moved, his sword is still on the ground.
Yeah, it'll be like sticking out of burst out of the ground based on where it's soaked in or whatever.
I would say it would lie flat.
Burst out of the ground. Like some kind of weird tree, or fangs from the earth.
So
fangs from the earth.
What do you guys think? Do you what is it?
Swords Tears.
Swords Tears. What do you guys think? If you're willing and able to play test it in your games, let me know what you think. Put it in the comments below. While you're at it, feel free to click like, share, even subscribe.
You can catch us over on nerdarchy.com.
And you can also join the conversation over on Reddit.
So until next time, stay nerdy.